updrafts formed right along that boundary. Soon after, the southern updraft took over, and a large hook formed on radar. Jason Jarrett saw the rapid rotation in the clouds. He captured these 3 photos of the storm's wall cloud as the storm moved northeast away from him. At the same time, the National Weather Service issues a tornado warning for the storm, and minutes later, a tornado touches down west of Hamilton, Alabama. While the tornado races northeast, Lily Hartley is on her way to church. She notices something on the horizon and pulls over to get a view, and what she records is shocking. A tornado is moving right through her hometown. Lily is the first person to capture video of the tornado, although she is certainly not the last, as the tornado is rapidly gaining strength. After passing Lily, the tornado begins traveling along Highway 43, the busiest road in the area, and goes straight into the town of Hackleburg. Kayla Stidham snaps this photo of the tornado. In a short amount of time, the tornado has grown into a wedge and is now producing EF4 damage. Almost immediately after, the tornado intensifies even further and inflicts EF5 damage for the first time. Abigail Roblero and 7 others watch the dark cloud from their back porch. As lightning strikes in front of them, they spot the silhouette of the tornado looming over the tree line. They rush to shelter in the basement with less than a minute to spare before the tornado overtakes her home. At first, everything is quiet, but then it's as if an explosion occurs. The entire house is thrown into the air and disappears, leaving all 8 buried in debris. By some miracle, everyone survives. 1 mile to the west, Ronald Elrod captures 2 photos of the monster as it's bearing down on Abigail. At the same time, Keith Banks is chasing the tornado, paralleling the path as it races towards Hackleburg. He records and is left completely speechless because of what he was witnessing. While Keith drives towards town, Tabitha Harper and her fiancé, Christopher Dunn, are seconds away from impact. Tabitha makes it to an underground shelter in time, but Christopher was in the house, gathering things for protection. Sadly, Christopher doesn't make it to safety in time and is killed, along with their 9-month-old dog that is thrown over 1 mile. Patrick Kelly photographs the monster entering the heart of Hackleburg. Resident Tommy Quinn runs to take shelter underground with his dad and brother. Quinn's dad clenches onto the shelter door with all his strength to protect his sons. As the winds intensify, the steel roof of the shelter is bent outwards. Tommy recounted that the tornado sounded like a low organ note. After the tornado passes, Tommy and his father run over to the cries next door from the swept slab of the Emmanuel Baptist Church. They begin digging up debris, trapping the church's pastor, his wife, and their several children. Miraculously, everyone here survives. The tornado is now moving into the most densely populated part of town. Cars are thrown more than 200 yards, and in one home, the foundation slab is cracked as the home is forcibly ejected from the concrete pad. At another home, William Luttrell and his grandson are sucked through their living room window, sustaining gruesome injuries, but thankfully surviving. However, most people in this area are not as fortunate. According to the town's chief of police, finding the death toll took nearly a week because everything in town was reduced to shreds. Ultimately, it was determined that 14 residents died on these 2 blocks. East of the denser neighborhoods in Hackleburg, the tornado impacts a multi-building complex, and one of the large 2-story apartment buildings is swept away. However, the largest structure impacted in Hackleburg is the Wrangler gene plant, which sustains a direct hit from the core of the tornado. Genes from the plant are swept up by the tornado and are found over 40 miles away. Of the 13 people on site, 1 employee is killed. After devastating Hackleburg, the tornado continues by mowing down the dense forest while moving at a blistering pace of 52 miles per hour. Despite moving through rural Alabama at this point, local Beretta Saint is just east of the tornado and records as the beast passes by. In Beretta's video, you can see how the tornado had grown into a massive behemoth and looked nothing like the stereotypical tornado we picture in our mind. This tornado was truly hell on Earth. The tornado is sustaining its immense EF5 strength and is now approaching the town of Phil Campbell.
Phil Campbell 3 to 911. I got rotation coming through the Phil Campbell right now.
It ain't wild, man.
The first block in Phil Campbell struck are the homes on Woodard Drive. Nearly every home here is leveled in EF5 fashion. The tornado now moves along Highway 237, which leads to downtown Phil Campbell. The winds of the tornado are so strong, a storm cellar has its roof torn off, but it's unknown if anyone was sheltering here at the time. Just down the road, several framed homes are reduced to bare foundations. The tornado clips Stall Club Circle, and a well-built home is swept away. More homes are completely destroyed as the tornado ravages through town. James Keller Jr. and his wife are frantically driving home to get to their storm shelter, but right as they pull into their driveway, their car is lifted off the ground and launched into a tree, killing James. All their neighbors' homes are destroyed, each being associated with fatalities. Patricia and Donnie Gentry, Edna Nix, James Kelly Jr., and Martha Pace all died on this block. Here winds were so violent, a 25 section foot of asphalt was torn from the road. As the tornado moves into the eastern side of Phil Campbell, resident Tommy Sanders is watching the tornado move towards him from outside his home, getting bigger and bigger. He takes a photo as the tornado tears through the center of Phil Campbell before racing inside for shelter. 30 seconds later, the core of the tornado overtakes him. Sanders is left in a critical state when he's found buried in rubble. Miraculously, he survives, but his neighbors are not so lucky, with Jack Tenev and Dagmar Layden being killed next door, as well as another woman to his south. On the block over, the tornado takes the lives of 10-year-old Ricky Knox and Gary and Carol Weller. In total, 21 people were killed in Phil Campbell, and the tornado was still maintaining its strength. Raymond McKinney, who's working at the time, captures the tornado as it leaves Phil Campbell. The massive tornado quickly moves along the horizon and is soon out of view. The tornado enters the community of Oak Grove. While this area is more sparsely populated, every building it hits is destroyed. A large brick building is swept off its foundation, killing 2. Another home is destroyed, where a Corvette is tossed over 200 yards. Oak Grove resident Rod Smith is totally unaware of the oncoming tornado. He senses something is wrong and goes outside to watch from his front porch. Everything is eerily calm, but then he sees mist begin to spiral upwards into the sky, and suddenly a black wall appears, plunging him into darkness. Instincts kick in, and he rushes to a storm cellar, barely securing the door as the tornado's pressure begins to pull. Inside the shelter, the pressure drop is so extreme, he could feel his stomach being pulled from within. Many stories similar to this are reported along the tornado's path. In one storm cellar, the sudden and drastic pressure drop ruptured a root canal, and in another case, someone reported having their tear ducts ripped. This is all that was left of Rod Smith's home. Around the same area, a local records the tornado as it passes through Oak Grove. This video shows just how dark and menacing it was to be out in front of